Accused Nanny faces trial alone. Incredible truth exposed by Millionaire's own children. Lisa's heart sank as she clutched the newspaper, its bold headline glaring at her. Just yesterday, she was a struggling single mom, working tirelessly to support her two children, Alex and Mia. But today the town turned its back on her. A chilling accusation hung over her head. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson had lost their prized family heirloom, and Lisa, their nanny, was deemed the thief. The picturesque suburban neighborhood of Connecticut had transformed into a pit of whispered judgments and piercing glares. Each day, Lisa woke up early to get Alex and Mia ready for school, forcing a smile on her face that felt heavier than ever. She hustled between shifts at the diner and cleaned houses, but nothing mattered now. With a scarlet letter of shame draped around her, she witnessed the turmoil affecting her kids. Their schoolmates exchanged knowing looks, not offering a hand but rather joining in the jeers. Lisa felt her heart shatter, just watching them shrink under the weight of their mother's plight. Determined to clear her name, Lisa dug through the remnants of that cursed day. The music from the kids' laughter still echoed in her mind. Everything had seemed so perfect at first. The Thompsons, with their immaculate home and glamorous lifestyle, felt like a fortunate turn in her luck. But as days turned to weeks, Lisa's hopes faded into shadows. As she scrubbed away the grime from another home, the burden of betrayal washed over her like each splashing drop of water. There was no one to trust anymore, and Sarah, her best friend, tried to lift her spirits. "You've got this, Lisa. Don't let them win," she urged, squeezing Lisa's shoulder in support. Together they devised a plan to confront the Thompsons. Yet the confrontation blew up in their faces, resulting in wider scrutiny of Lisa's actions and deeper isolation. On the day of the trial, Lisa's nerves felt like a tense piano string ready to snap. The courtroom buzzed with the clamor of onlookers, each face a mirror of judgment. As Emma and Jake took the stand, Lisa's breath hitched. The moment felt heavy with expectation. The truth hung delicately in the air. Would it be enough to save her? Just then, Emma, trembling, glanced at her brother before blurting out a shocking confession. "It fell! It broke! We didn't want to get in trouble." The courtroom fell silent. The truth spilled over, stopping hearts and igniting whispers. The affluent children, so accustomed to perfection, exposed the cracks beneath their polished lives, and Lisa, once painted a villain, was rendered a martyr of fate. But then the door swung open, and a commotion erupted. A figure rushed in, shoulders broad and determined. Gasps filled the room. Who could it be? With lives hanging in the balance, the community pulsed with an electric tension. As Lisa faced the unexpected arrival, she realized that the resolution of her case would test not only her spirit, but the very fabric of their neighborhood, a place where a mother's heart and ambition now stood against a tide of prejudice. Could she reclaim her truth? Would love and loyalty prevail even when all seemed lost? The courtroom door swung open wider, revealing a man striding forward with purpose. It was Mark, one of the Thompsons' trusted family lawyers, but something about his presence was different. He was more than just a legal representative. He was someone with a deep understanding of what was at stake. Lisa felt a flicker of hope as his commanding gaze met hers. "Your Honor," Mark called out, taking his place in the middle of the room, "I believe I have information that changes everything." The murmurings in the room grew louder as the tension thickened. The weight of his words rested heavy, as if the air itself anticipated what was about to be revealed. Lisa's heart raced. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. Could this be the lifeline she'd been desperately searching for? Mark continued, "My clients, Emma and Jake, were not the only ones present when the heirloom was broken. There's more to this story than you've been led to believe." The judge's gavel struck, silencing the chatter. He pulled out a small stack of papers from his briefcase and held them up. "These are eyewitness accounts from the household staff. They have stated that the object in question was mishandled during a game played by the children in the garden. Others were present to witness that it was an accident and not theft." The atmosphere in the courtroom shifted. Whispers flitted across the benches, each one growing louder as it spread. Lisa felt her heart swell, a mix of disbelief and cautious optimism. She was not alone in this fight. "But," Mark paused, glancing pointedly at the Thompsons, "there's also the question of why these children felt the need to cover up the truth. Fear of their parents' reaction can be powerful. We need to understand the real dynamics at play in this family. Just like that, her heart dropped. Fear. It was a theme that echoed throughout her life as well. She couldn't really blame Emma and Jake for wanting to escape the heat of disappointment. Remembering her own children, Lisa understood how overwhelming a parent's expectations could be. The Thompsons exchanged nervous glances, their facade of confidence cracking. Lisa took a deep breath, wrestling with a swell of emotions. Would they still protect their perfect image at the expense of truth and of her reputation? As the trial progressed, Lisa found herself watching the Thompsons closely. They had built a world of wealth, but what lay beneath? Anxiety danced in the air, a stark contrast to their luxurious lifestyle. Everything Lisa prided herself on, the unconditional love and honesty she'd poured into her children's lives, seemed to shine brighter against the darkness looming over the Thompsons. When Mark finished his argument, the atmosphere began to shift. Lisa sensed a possibility, a chance for redemption starting to take root. But then, an unexpected voice broke through the uncertainty. "I saw the whole thing too." A young woman stepped up beside Mark. Lisa recognized her as Lucy, the daughter of the Thompsons' housekeeper. All eyes turned toward Lucy as she took a deep breath. "I was there when they were playing in the yard. It was an accident. They never meant to break it." Her voice shook, but her gaze was steady. "And it wasn't fair to blame the nanny." The room fell silent once more, this time alive with the rustle of shifting opinions. Lisa's heart flew. This was her moment. Wrapped up in a whirlwind of emotions, she couldn't help but think about Alex and Mia. If only they could hear this. If only they could know there were still people who believed in truth, even when it seemed lost. But as the murmurs of the crowd began to swell, Lisa felt the weight of uncertainty settle back into her chest. Would the truth be enough to carry her beyond the judgment of those who had turned against her? The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, and she wondered how deep the fear of the Thompsons ran. Would they sacrifice the truth once more to save face? All eyes remained on both families, waiting for the next move. Secrets ran deeper than anyone imagined, and somewhere between guilt and innocence lay an undeniable bond that could change everything. Could Lisa walk away not just cleared of accusations, but with a newfound understanding of love and loyalty? The answers loomed just out of reach, teetering on the edge of revelation. The silence in the courtroom felt deafening, the tension hanging like a thick fog. Lisa's heart raced, but she couldn't allow herself to hope too much. Even though Lucy's testimony was a lifeline, there was still a long way to go. The Thompsons stood there, an impenetrable wall of privilege and power. Would they crumble under the weight of their secrets, or would they retaliate in a way that only the wealthy could? Mark took a step forward, eager to maintain the momentum. "Your Honor, I believe we need to call more witnesses to establish the character of the accused." He gestured toward Lisa, eyes filled with determination. "I need to underscore not just the truth about the incident, but about the impact this has had on Lisa's life and her children." The judge raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Very well. Who do you propose?" Mark smiled slightly, as if he had anticipated this moment. "I'd like to call Lisa's children Alex and Mia to the stand." A ripple of shock coursed through the room. Lisa's heart skipped. Her children. They had been at school during the incident, but they had witnessed the fallout. Lisa felt pride swell within her. Alex and Mia had always been brave and compassionate. This was their chance to share their story, to speak their truth. And yet her stomach knotted with worry. Would they be ready for the questions? The judgment? As the children approached the stand, Lisa felt a surge of protective instinct. They looked nervous, but Lisa knew they were strong. They had been raised to value honesty above everything else. "Thank you for being here today," Mark said gently as he led them through a series of questions. He kept his tone warm, coaxing them to share not just the facts, but their feelings. "How do you feel about the accusations against Lisa?" he asked. Alex glanced at Mia, then back at the courtroom. "I don't think she did anything wrong," he said, his voice steady. "She loves us. She would never hurt us." Mia nodded vigorously. "Yeah, it's not fair. We spent the whole day at school and then had to come home to all this madness. She's the best mum." A murmur erupted in the audience as Lisa felt tears prick her eyes. Pride washed over her, mixed with an overwhelming sense of maternal love. She had fought to shield them from this storm, and now they stood for her, unyielding. As Mark continued to question them, Lisa felt the tide begin to shift. Each word they spoke cut through the courtroom tension, breaking down the barriers that the Thompsons had built around their lives. The room buzzed, caught in the raw emotion of the moment. But just as hope began to take root, Lisa noticed the Thompsons whispering urgently amongst themselves. Their faces were grim, eyes narrowing with focus. Something was brewing beneath the surface, and it felt dangerous. Finally, after a tense exchange, the Thompsons' lawyer rose. "Objection, Your Honor. This testimony is irrelevant. This is not about family dynamics. It's about the damage done." The judge raised a hand to silence him. "I would like to hear more. This is a complex case involving many lives." The atmosphere crackled with tension. Lisa held her breath, hoping for a miracle but fearing the darkness just beyond the light. The Thompsons were not going to let this slip away easily. Fear clawed at Lisa again. Would they unleash their fury to protect themselves at her expense? What secrets were they still hiding? As the judge deliberated, the weight of uncertainty hung heavy in the air. Lisa could feel her heart beating faster. With so much at stake, how would they navigate this murky path ahead? The courtroom felt like a battleground, and she was in the thick of it. Would love conquer fear, or would the truth be suffocated in the shadows? The judge's gavel came down sharply, shattering the whispers around the room. "Order!" he commanded. The courtroom fell silent, the air thick with anticipation, as he turned his eyes from the lawyer back to the children. "Let's give this testimony its due weight," he said, giving Mark an encouraging nod. "Proceed." Mark welcomed the judge's ruling with a slight exhale. He turned back to Alex and Mia, who seemed to breathe a little easier under the judge's affirmation. A moment of relief, Lisa thought, but it was fleeting. In a space where fear and hope collided, fleeting was all she could count on. "Alex," Mark said gently, his voice steady as a sturdy oak, "can you tell us what happened after the incident? How did it affect you and your sister?" Alex shifted, glancing at Mia. His little sister watched him with wide eyes filled with both pride and trepidation. "Well, after it happened, things were different," he started. "Everyone was always shouting. The adults seemed worried. It felt confusing." Mia interjected, her small hands fidgeting with her dress. "I scared for Mom. I didn't understand why people were saying such mean things. She's just our mom." The honesty in their voices cut through the courtroom. Faces softened, even among some members of the Thompson entourage. Lisa's heart swelled with hope, and still worry flitted at the edges of her mind. "Your mother had to deal with many things after that day. Can you tell us how her absence affected you both at home?" Mark gently probed. Alex's brows knitted together. "We missed her a lot. It was hard to see her sad, and the house felt empty, you know. She was just trying to help us." Mia chimed in. "Yeah. When we would draw, I always drew Mum with a big smile. It wasn't fair that she was hurting. She should be happy, not scared." Their words filled the courtroom like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. Murmurs of sympathy rippled through the audience. Lisa could glimpse emotions shifting, people thinking differently, understanding more deeply. But Lisa's joy was short-lived. The Thompsons were still watching, their faces an impassable wall. She saw their lawyer scribbling furiously, eyes flicking up occasionally as they plotted their next move. "Objection!" their lawyer interjected again, rising with renewed determination. "Your Honor, we demand that this line of questioning be stopped. The children know nothing of our family's troubles. They cannot speak on our character." "Let's not forget," the judge replied, his patience wearing thin. "This case is about perception and impact. To deny their perspective is to deny a key element of this trial." The courtroom held its breath. Lisa's heart hammered as the judge leaned forward, eyes piercing into the Thompson lawyer, who faltered under the steady gaze. She felt a rush of strength at witnessing the judge's resolute stance. But then, Lisa's thoughts darkened as she remembered what the Thompsons were capable of. They were cornered animals, driven by instinct to protect themselves. If they were willing to obliterate her life, what else might they do when faced with their world teetering on the edge? The silence grew tense again, like a coiled spring ready to snap. The whisperings among the Thompsons resumed, eyes darting furtively, calculating. Lisa could almost hear the gears turning as the shadows of their power loomed over her. As Mark smiled at Alex and Mia, urging them to continue, a sudden loud crash echoed in the courtroom. It drew everyone's gaze to the back, where the door swung open violently. Lisa's stomach dropped. Who had just entered? A figure stepped forward and gasps filled the room. "Your Honor, I have startling new information regarding this case." In that moment, everything shifted. What had just walked in, and could it change everything for Lisa? The room fell into an unsettling hush as the figure stepped into the light. A tall woman, her hair slicked back and dressed impeccably, stood there with a determined look. Lisa squinted through the dimness, trying to catch a glimpse of recognition. Who was this stranger, and what could she possibly know? "Your Honor," the woman repeated, her voice steady yet urgent, "I am Amanda Clark, and I've come to clarify critical facts surrounding this case." Mark took a small step back, surprise etching his features. "Ms. Clark, are you—" "Let her speak," the judge interjected, clearly intrigued and slightly on edge. The courtroom temperature shifted. All eyes snapped to Amanda, hanging on to her every word. She took a deep breath, her demeanor suggesting that what she had to say had been bottled up for too long. "I was a part of the Thompson household for several years," she revealed, her gaze sweeping the room before landing squarely on the Thompson family. "I was their nanny. I was there when the incident occurred." Whispers erupted throughout the courtroom. The murmurs spread like wildfire, igniting confusion. Lisa stared intently at Amanda, her heart racing. This could change everything, but how? Would this woman be an ally or another enemy? "Ms. Clark, please clarify your involvement," the judge urged, leaning forward in his seat now, visibly captivated. Amanda nodded and took a step closer. "The day of the incident, things were not as they portrayed them. I watched as tensions escalated. The children were terrified. Their mother was doing her best to hold everything together." "Your Honor," the opposing lawyer interjected, scrambling for control. "This is pure hearsay. We were not aware of this witness." "I have documentation," Amanda interrupted, her voice resolute. "That proves not only my observations, but also the state of the Thompson household. This is vital information that needs to be considered." Lisa's breath caught in her throat. Documents? What kind of documents? Instinctively, she shifted her gaze to the Thompson family, who looked as if they had turned to stone. The color drained from their faces as they exchanged quick, panicked glances. "What kind of documents?" the judge pressed. "What are you suggesting, Ms. Clark?" "I have notes I took during my time with the Thompsons," Amanda explained, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Messages, incidents, and a timeline of events. It's crucial to understanding the pressure that was on all parties, but especially the children." The courtroom buzzed again, filled with disbelief and anticipation. Alex and Mia leaned closer to Mark, their previous calm replaced with concern. Lisa saw hope flicker in their eyes, and it sent a wave of warmth through her. "Your Honor," Mark stepped forward, voice firm, "with your permission, I'd like to examine those documents." The judge nodded, gesturing for Amanda to approach. As she reached into her bag, Lisa's heart raced. Was this the break she needed, or would it backfire, putting the children in more danger? As Amanda handed over the papers, Lisa could feel the weight of his secrets and the truths that were about to surface. Suddenly a loud bang echoed through the courtroom, an unexpected interruption. The same door that Amanda had entered through slammed shut with startling force. Everyone turned to see a familiar face emerge, fear painted on her features. "Wait!" the woman shouted, her eyes darting around before locking onto Lisa. "You need to hear me too." Lisa's stomach dropped. Who could it be now? What other storm was about to hit? The woman stepped into the light, and Lisa's heart sank at the sight of her. It was Rachel, a family friend who had been close to the Thompsons for years. Lisa had always trusted Rachel, up until now. But what on earth was she doing here? And why did she look so terrified? With wide eyes and shaking hands, Rachel took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. I didn't know how to say this before, but you need to listen to me. I have information about what really happened that day." Amanda looked momentarily surprised, but then stood her ground, her eyes narrowed slightly as if assessing Rachel's intentions. The judge, too, shifted in his seat. "Proceed, Ms. Wright," he urged. Rachel glanced around the courtroom, making eye contact with a few familiar faces, her resolve wavering for just a moment. "I was in the neighborhood that day, and I saw a lot more than I ever disclosed. The entire situation was worse than anyone knows." As she spoke, the courtroom erupted into an anxious frenzy. Lisa held her breath. She felt the tension in the air, a tangible force that gripped her like a fist. What had Rachel witnessed? Was she going to corroborate Amanda's claims, or was she bringing a new threat altogether? "Your Honor," the opposing lawyer interrupted again, panic creeping into his voice. "This is absurd. We are not even certain of Ms. Wright's credibility here." But Rachel had already collected herself, moving forward in desperation. "No, you don't understand. The children, they were in a terrible situation, and I saw—" "Enough!" the judge thundered, cutting her off. "We cannot have chaos in my courtroom. Speak plain and concise." Rachel looked at Lisa, her gaze filled with urgency. "I know this is hard to believe, but things happened around those kids that I didn't know would come to light." At that moment, Lisa could see a flicker of something in Rachel's expression, a recognition of fear but also of hope. Could Rachel's fear reveal a sliver of truth that could save the Thompson family? Lisa felt a knot tightening in her stomach. Was this a last-ditch effort to help, or was Rachel acting in self-preservation? The judge leaned forward, his small spectacles perched carefully on the bridge of his nose. "We need clarity, Ms. Wright. Give us details. What precisely did you see that day?" Rachel swallowed hard, her voice trembling. "A man was at the home. Someone who shouldn't have been there. He wasn't supposed to be around the children. I saw him arguing with Amy, their mother. It escalated. I didn't realize how bad it was until I heard the screaming, but I thought it was just the kids playing." Lisa's heart raced. Who was this man? And why hadn't Rachel said anything before? The storm was brewing, and it was more dangerous than anything Lisa had anticipated. As Rachel continued her account, Lisa felt the ground shifting beneath her. All eyes turned towards Amanda, who was watching Rachel intently, her expression unreadable. If Rachel's testimony was about to clash with Amanda's claims, where would that leave everyone? "Please, you have to listen," Rachel urged, her voice cracking. "The truth matters more now than ever before." With that declaration, Lisa felt a strange mix of dread and adrenaline coursing through her. The truth was like a loaded gun, and they were all caught in the crossfire. What revelations would emerge from Rachel's story, and would they unite everyone or tear them further apart? As Rachel's words hung heavily in the air, another loud crash resonated from the hallway, distracted gasps echoing throughout the courtroom. "What's happening now?" Lisa thought desperately. She braced herself for yet another twist in this ever-thickening plot, heart-pounding. Would the truth ever truly come to light, or were they all trapped in a web of lies? The loud crash echoed through the courtroom, knocking Lisa back into the present. The doors swung open as a group of uniformed officers rushed in, their expressions a mix of urgency and confusion. Lisa's heart raced. Had something gone wrong outside? "Your Honor," one of the officers called out, creating a wave of whispers among the onlookers. "We need to speak with you immediately." The judge's brow furrowed, signaling for silence as he motioned for the officer to approach. Lisa found herself leaning forward, her focus entirely on the officers. What could possibly be happening that could further complicate an already tense situation? Rachel stood tall, visibly shaken, but still holding her ground. She couldn't back down now. "Please," she pressed, her voice trembling yet determined. "I have to finish explaining what I saw. It's important." But the judge didn't make eye contact with her. He faced the officer and listened closely, silently evaluating the urgency of the situation. Lisa's gut twisted as she glanced back at Amanda, trying to read her, but Amanda's face was impassive. "Your Honor," the officer continued in a low voice, "a witness just came forward, someone associated with the case. They claim to have crucial information regarding the children's situation that day. They wish to testify. It might change everything." Lisa couldn't believe what she was hearing. How much more could change? They were already on the brink of exposure, and now they might be adding another layer of confusion to the chaotic scene. The judge raised a hand, motioning for the officer to pause. "Why wasn't this witness brought to us earlier?" he snapped, his patience clearly thinning. "Sir, they were frightened. Thought they might put themselves in danger," the officer replied. "They are outside now, prepared to come in." The room buzzed with a mix of questions, murmurs floating like currents of confusion. Lisa felt a strange rush of adrenaline. There had to be a reason this witness had chosen now to step forward. What did they know that could shift the entire case? "Do we really need another witness?" Amanda finally spoke, her voice steady but laced with tension. "We have enough chaos as it is." Ignoring Amanda, Lisa's thoughts raced. Could this witness back Rachel's claims, or were they a threat? She glanced back at Rachel, who was still trying to hold on to her composure. The tension in the room thickened, a tangible fear that something crucial was about to unfold. "Bring the witness in," the judge finally commanded, settling back into his seat with a resigned heaviness. As the doors creaked open again, an unfamiliar figure stepped into the courtroom. A young boy no older than 10, his eyes darting about nervously. Clutching a folded piece of paper, he looked terrified, yet there was a sense of determination behind his frightened expression. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. What could he possibly say that would untangle the mess they had found themselves in? The boy glanced at Rachel, then at Lisa, before taking a shaky step forward. At that moment, the buzz of anticipation turned to taut silence, all eyes now fixed on this unexpected source of truth. What does he know? Lisa wondered, heart pounding faster than ever. It felt like they were standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to plunge into whatever secrets awaited beneath. Did they dare hope this child could change everything? Just before the boy began to speak, another crash rang out from the hallway, louder than before, a sound that felt like a warning. Lisa's mind raced. What else could go wrong? And what truths might come to light from this little boy's testimony? The boy cleared his throat, his hands trembling as he clutched the paper tighter. For a moment, he seemed lost in the sea of faces staring back at him, and Lisa could feel the weight of everyone's anticipation pressing down on his small shoulders. "Please," he whispered, glancing around the room, I need to tell you what I saw that day." The judge leaned forward, subtly urging him on. The room held its breath, the air thick with a blend of anxiety and hope. "There was a man. I saw him at the park where the kids were. He was not nice," the boy said, his voice trembling. "I tried to tell my mom, but she didn't believe me." Rachel's eyes widened, a flicker of recognition sparking in her expression. "What do you mean, not nice?" she asked, her tone shifting from uncertainty to urgency. "He was yelling at the kids," the boy replied, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "And I saw him take something from one of them. I think it was important. I wanted to help, but I was scared." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lisa could feel Amanda stiffening beside her, the tension knotted tightly in the air. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown to something explosive. "Do you know who this man is?" The officer, probing for clarity, leaned closer, his eyes intent on the boy. I don't know his name," the boy stammered, "but I remember the car he got into. It was black, and it had a dent on the side." As the boy described the car, Lisa saw Rachel's face change. Recognition flickered like a wave across her features. "Was it the car?" Rachel started, hesitating, as if the answer might shatter something already fragile. "The one parked outside my house the day before?" "Yes," the boy nodded vigorously. "That's it. I thought it was really weird, but I didn't think about it until—" His voice trailed off as another crash echoed down the hall. This time it felt deeper, more disturbing. Shadows flickered across the room and doubt filled the air. Each sound seemed to peel back the layers of truth and lies, unearthing buried fears that everyone hoped would stay hidden. Suddenly, two officers rushed back into the room, faces taut and troubled. "Your Honor, there's been an incident outside," one of them announced, urgency lacing his tone. Lisa felt her heart drop. "What kind of incident?" the judge barked, his patience evaporating rapidly. "There seems to be a disturbance with a large crowd. We're trying to control the situation, but—" The room erupted into chaos, and Lisa instinctively turned to Rachel, who looked as if she might be about to burst. These details, Rachel stammered. They could help, but with everything happening, we might lose our chance. I know, Lisa replied, trying to hold on to a sense of focus. But this boy, though he might know more, we can't let fear silence his voice. Just then, the boy took a shaky breath, gathering his courage. I saw him coming back on the day. He had something in his hands that looked like a phone or a camera. I think he was recording. The implications of his words hung in the air, filling the room with a suffocating tension. Lisa's mind whirled. What evidence could the boy possibly provide? And more importantly, would they have enough time to uncover the truth before the disturbance spiraled out of control? The boy looked around, seeking encouragement from a world that seemed dark and threatening. He squared his shoulders, ready to go on, but the echo of commotion outside appeared to loom closer, threatening to drown out his words. "Stop!" Rachel called out suddenly, her voice grounding yet desperate. "What else do you remember?" Every eye in the courtroom turned to the boy, yet outside chaos brewed, echoing through the hall, a storm rising both from within and beyond the court's walls. As the boy opened his mouth to continue, the doors flew open once again, this time with a force that drew gasps and a stunned silence. "Everyone, clear the area!" an officer shouted, pushing through the crowd. "There's no time. We need to get out, now!" Panic began to ripple through the room, leaving everyone on edge, hearts pounding in sync with the thudding anticipation. What had just begun to unravel might also be lost in the chaos to come. Lisa's breath hitched in her throat. What truths would be revealed before they could escape the grasp of fear? The room erupted in confusion. Lisa's heart raced as bodies pressed toward the exits, panic blooming like wildfire. She gripped Rachel's arm, her voice rising above the chaos. "We can't leave. The boy's about to remember more." But Rachel's eyes were wide, filled with dread. "We can't stay here, Lisa. What if something happens?" Before she could respond, the boy, still trembling but determined, stepped forward again. "Wait! Please, I need to say one more thing." His voice cracked, but there was a fire behind his eyes. The room quieted, a collective breath held as everyone's attention shifted back to him. "Last time I saw the man, he was heading towards the playground," he said, glancing nervously at the door. "He was laughing, like he thought he was clever. I didn't understand why. I thought he could just be another grown-up, but now I don't think so." The urgency in his voice turned despair into something more powerful, a call for truth. Lisa felt a ripple of hope surge through her, a line of connection formed in that moment. This was why they were here. Before anyone could react, an officer returned with a frantic look, fresh sweat glistening on his brow. "We need eyes on the playground. Possible suspect sighting. The crowd is out of control. We might need backup." Rachel swallowed hard, and Lisa could see a flicker of resolve igniting within her. Can we get someone to check it out?" Lisa nodded, feeling a rush of conviction. "Let's tell them what the boy saw. It could help." "Please," the boy said. "What if it was his fault and he was trying to hide it?" Lisa's pulse quickened again, this time not from fear, but from purpose. "We need to connect the dots, Rachel. The car, the boy's sighting, this is part of something bigger. Maybe someone is protecting this man." Rachel's eyes went wide as she grasped the implications. "But what if they don't believe us? What if they—" "We don't have time for what-ifs," Lisa snapped, slicing through the tension. "We have a chance. Let's take it." Just then, a loud crash echoed from the direction of the playground. An ominous sound reverberated in their chests. A wave of dread washed over Lisa, but there was no turning back. The path ahead was murky, but they needed to act. "Okay," Rachel said, finally firming up her grip. "Let's get ready to speak to the officers. Let's find out what's happening outside. They can't lose sight of this. We can't lose hope." The boy's eyes shone brightly against the gathering shadows. "I'm with you. I want to make sure he doesn't hurt anyone else." With renewed determination, the group moved toward the door, the tension heavy with possibility. They pushed their way through the remaining crowd, but just as they approached the exit, a shriek pierced the air, chilling and sharp. Every person in the room froze. Lisa's heart pounded in her ears. "What was that?" she whispered, looking towards the source of the scream. Outside, chaos erupted anew. More shouts echoed, louder this time. "Get away from her!" The boy stepped closer to Lisa, instinctively moving behind her. "We need to help!" And from the depths of the crowd, a figure broke free, running towards them, panic etched on his face. "You have to believe me. It's not safe." Fear combined with determination filled their hearts. They had to uncover the truth. But what horrifying reality awaited them outside? As they braced for what lay beyond, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that the answers they sought were closer than they ever imagined, or more dangerous than they could have ever predicted. The door swung open, and Lisa found herself stepping into the fray. The chaotic scene outside sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. Her heart raced, but there was a determination flickering inside her. They had to push through the confusion and fear to uncover the truth. As the crowd surged, Lisa could see a flash of something, what looked like an uneasy struggle between two figures. The boy clutched her hand tightly, his wide eyes mirroring her own fear. "What's happening?" he asked, voice trembling. With a deep breath, Lisa forced herself to take a step forward. "We need to find out," she replied, leading them through the mass of bodies. Rachel, who was beside her, nodded, the resolve returning to her expression. "Look!" Rachel shouted, pointing to a boy on the ground, fear etched in his features. "That's what the other boy was talking about. He's in trouble." They rushed forward, but just as they reached the scene, a scream echoed through the air, sharper than a knife. Lisa's stomach dropped as she recognized the voice, the unmistakable sound of her son, Alex. "Mom! Help! Alex!" Lisa yelled, pushing through the crowd. In that moment, time slowed. Every second felt like an eternity as dread wrapped around her heart. She could see him struggling against a much taller figure, panic filling his eyes as he tried to break free. "Let him go!" The words erupted from her throat like fire. "Get away from my son!" The figure flinched at her shout, and Lisa seized the moment, rushing forward. The crowd parted just enough for her to break through. She saw the man, rough-looking with a menacing glare, his grip tight on Alex's arm. "Release him," she ordered, a surge of strength pushing her forward. "He doesn't belong to you." Something flashed in the man's eyes. Infuriated and frightened, he pushed Alex back towards her, stumbling but regaining his balance. "Stay out of this, lady," he growled, voice low and threatening. But Lisa stood firm. "You're not taking anyone else today." From behind, Rachel stepped up, rallying with newfound courage. "We're special witnesses. You don't get to hurt those kids." It shocked the man, who glanced around as if weighing his options. But Lisa didn't give him the chance. "Police!" she shouted angrily. "There are police here. You will be arrested." In that very moment, officers emerged from the crowd, weapons drawn, eyes locking onto the threat. Lisa felt the tension shift, saw the man's expression falter at the sight of authority. "What's going on?" one officer barked, striding forward. The man glanced around, weighing his chances against the growing number of concerned onlookers. Lisa recognized fear in his eyes, and with it came the strength of clarity. This moment was critical. She needed to expose him. "This man!" she shouted, pointing accusingly. "He's the one who was yelling at the kids at the park." Suddenly, the boy who had given his testimony outside rushed toward them. "It was him. I saw him. He was taking pictures. I knew it was bad." Gasps spread through the crowd, and within moments the officers had taken hold of the man, cuffs clicking into place. "Finally!" Lisa breathed, relief flooding her senses as the man was led away, his protests falling on deaf ears. As silence fell over the area, Alex rushed into Lisa's arms. She held him tightly, tears of relief streaming down her cheeks. "I was so scared, Mom," he exclaimed, his little body trembling against her. "I know, sweetie, but you're safe now. I've got you," Lisa said, holding him close, feeling the warmth of his small frame. Mia joined them, burying her face in Alex's shoulder, and Lisa's heart swelled with love, a fierce kind of love that shattered the fear that had been gripping her. The crowd began to disperse, the whispers of disbelief transforming into murmurs of relief and triumph. They weren't just witnesses to the chaos, they were part of a story coming back to life, one that was rooted in love and the determination to protect each other. In that instant, Lisa heard Rachel's voice, softer now. "Lisa, we did it. We found the truth." Tears filled Lisa's eyes again. Not just the truth. We found one another. We can do this together. As people began to pull away from the excitement of the event, Lisa glanced back to the courtroom, where the resolution awaited. Their story, filled with peril and the search for justice, would become a beacon of what true community meant. And as Lisa leaned down to her kids, she whispered, "Together, everyone belonging together." Now more than ever, it was clear that their battle had just begun. Not only had they confronted fear, but they had ignited something deeper, an unshakable bond that would propel them into a future filled with hope. As they stood united under the fading sky, Lisa's heart felt fuller than it ever had. It was time to embrace their truth and their power. It was time for healing. And this was just the beginning. Now this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories filled with triumph and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these inspiring tales alive. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through your actions.